What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trey, and as usual, I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. We got to talk about here the 2026 Women's March Madness Tournament. And we're currently at the Sweet 16. So I just wanted to note, like I told y'all before, I don't really care about the first round, the first two rounds, because we already understand what's going to happen. There's a lot of belt-to-tail action going on, okay? To be clear, I'll say this, the largest upsets that we've seen was UVA with number 10 seed beating Iowa. They were a 2 seed. Now, we also had Notre Dame, a 6 seed, beating Ohio State, a 3 seed, and Kentucky, a 5 seed, beating West Virginia, a 4 seed. The last two, I don't really consider too big of upsets, but sure, they were upset. With the higher seed ended up losing. Well, lower seed you know what I'm talking about. The best team overall in those matchups lost. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we do have 8 teams or matchups to talk about. So with that being said, I'm going to go in my order of entertainment to watch. We got to start it off here with Michigan, the number 2 seed, versus Louisville, the number 3 seed. All of these games you should probably watch. We got to say this, though. Michigan's average delta in points scoring in comparison to their opponents was, in fact, 32 points. That means they've scored, on average, 32 points delta between them and their opponents. Louisville's delta was 7. And there's been 2 rounds played thus far. I'm personally leaning Michigan in this game. Hear me out, right? Starters, their defense is better. Plus, they got the scoring advantage. So when we're talking about you winning on both sides of the ball, of the flow, well, dang, that's kind of tough. And on top of that, too, Michigan, in fact, should have the best player in Olivia Olson. So they got the best player. Their starters' defense appears to be better, at least on paper. And they have the scoring advantage. I'm leaning Michigan off that alone. Again, they have been putting belt to tail. Louisville's been doing their thing, too. Don't get me wrong. All right, they got a couple solid players, but if we're looking at it from a team perspective, I think Louisville has slightly more depth at scoring. I think Michigan might have the better players. So as a result, I'm going to lean Michigan. But, we'll see how this one goes. It should be a good one. Nonetheless, a 2 and 3 seed, anything's doable. But I'm expecting Michigan to win this matchup personally. Let's move on to the next one, right? That was number 8 matchup, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the number 7 matchup here, which is Texas versus Kentucky. Now, keep in mind, Texas' average delta in scoring is 42 points per game. Y'all see what I mean when I say I don't pay attention to the first round? There's a lot of deltas going on right here. I'm not talking about the 1913. If you know, you know. I'm talking about here the scoring margin. That's disgusting. Now, keep in mind, Kentucky, their average delta is 8 points per game. To be clear, this was a regular season matchup. So I'm leaning Texas because they won by 11 points per game. They won by 11, ladies and gentlemen, all right? And they did so with their best player having a very subpar game. Madison Booker, who is the player that I'm talking about, who had a subpar game, should be the best player on the flow. And keep in mind, Texas, they doing their thing. Now, does Kentucky have the scoring output? Yes, they do. Can they win because of a redemption game? Yes, they can. I'm expecting Texas to do so because when I look across the board, they do a little bit better than Kentucky. Like the steals department is vastly better than Kentucky's. All right, the field goal percentage, the free throws is better. The 3-pointers is tied. So when I'm looking at things like that, I'm favoring Texas. Again, they got the best player on the floor. They've already won when the best player didn't really do the best. So there should be a confidence level, even with the redemption game by Kentucky. But again, I'm not expecting this to be a blowout. I hope it's a good game. It should be a good game, especially because they've already played before. But I'm leaning on Texas. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude that 1 through 5 matchup, which again, Texas is the 1 seed, Kentucky is the 5 seed. So you might be saying, oh yeah, Trey, you're sure putting a lot of risk on this one. I kind of am because again, Kentucky did lose in the regular season. Those redemption games They do sometimes matter. That may be a theme in this tournament as well, too. That is why I also love the Women's March Madness, because we do see more women's teams ranked playing versus more men's teams. I'm just saying, that's something that I would love to see more of in the men's league. But anyways, let's go to the next one, right? We got number 6 matchup. South Carolina versus Oklahoma. South Carolina's a 1 seed. Oklahoma's a 4 seed. To be clear, South Carolina's average delta is 60 points per game. That's right, 6-0. I did not stutter. Oklahoma's average delta is 18 points a game. So that's very respectable. Now, this is another matchup where they had regular season occurrence. And in fact, Oklahoma won that game by double digits. South Carolina's only lost twice. And this is one of the teams that beat them. I'm leaning South Carolina on this one personally. Because, again, it should be a redemption game where you lost by 12, and that's one of your only 2 losses all season. But if there is a team right now to beat South Carolina, it could be Oklahoma. Aaliyah Chavez, 5'10 guard, who is a freshman. She hooped her tail off in that game during the regular season. Well, it is a little bit different come March Madness. Now, Joyce Edwards, who's a 6'3 forward, she's a sophomore. And she has a redemption game going into this one. But she's been playing pretty daggone spectacular during March Madness. Which player is going to be the best on the floor? Also, I do think the depth for South Carolina, while Oklahoma can match them, I would expect a little bit more out of South Carolina. Again, we got the rebounds favoring Oklahoma. We got the assists favoring Oklahoma. Steals favoring Oklahoma. Blocks favoring South Carolina. But the efficiency aspect, that part weirdly is favoring South Carolina. So they're not far, meaning Oklahoma, is not far enough for me to say, well, this efficiency here don't really matter in terms of the disparity in production across the team. So I'm leaning South Carolina because of that redemption game, because I do believe in Dawn Staley as a coach. I got to expect South Carolina. But again, would I be surprised if Oklahoma wins this matchup? No, because they just beat them in the regular season by 12. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I lean and expect South Carolina. Not going to be surprised if they lose. Let's move on up here to the number 4 matchup. Oh, we got here, and this one's tough because this is one of my favorite teams to watch. We got UConn, a number 1 seed, and UNC, a number 4 seed. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, UConn's average delta in scoring is 50.5 points a game. That's disgusting work. UNC's average delta is 20 points per game. Very commendable. UConn, I expect to win. Reason why, they have the best 2 players on the floor, plus they have an elite defense. Ladies and gentlemen, they have 15.6 steals as a team. As a team, that is crazy work. That is crazy work. That's higher than their own turnovers, which is at 12.8. And it's higher than UNC's turnover, which was at 14.1. Like, that's pretty spectacular as a team when you think about it. Now, we already know who Sarah Strong is, giving you 18 points a game with 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3.3 steals, 1.6 blocks on 60 from the field, 85% from the free throw line, and 42% from the 3. That's disgusting numbers. And then you also got AZ Fudd, who could be the number 1 draft pick this year, with 18 points a game, rounding up, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2.5 steals, 0.5 blocks on 50, 40, 90. And I'm rounding up on that for that 50 to be clear, but it's at 49.5. She's doing 50, 40, 90, ladies and gentlemen. We almost have 2 players in the 50, 40, 90 caliber, and Sarah would have been 60, 40, 90. That is disgusting numbers, and I don't see UNC stopping that, respectfully. Navarre, you got to slow down AZ Fudd. And then Nyla Harris, you got to slow down Sarah Strong while still leading your team in scoring. I don't see that occurring, ladies and gentlemen. And to be clear, there are more double-digit scores for UNC, but to be clear, the best, without a doubt, 2 players on the floor belong to UConn. If that can look any sort of different on the game, all right, I hear you in terms of UNC winning, but I expect this one to be a pretty sizable game, honestly. Like, UConn pretty tough, bro. UConn pretty tough. So I'm just saying I favor UConn personally. Like some teams have had the best player I'm thinking they have the best two players. When that happens, it's very tough to beat a team. But let's move on because I ain't going to go too deep into it. Like I said, I already told y'all who my winner's expectation is. If UConn loses, I'll be very surprised, though. This one, I would be surprised. UCLA, number 3 for me. UCLA, they're the 1 seed versus Minnesota, who's a 4 seed. UCLA's average delta is 36 points per game. Again, them first rounds, them first weekends. Oh, that's belt to tail. Minnesota's average delta is 10 points per game. That's a respectable point delta right there, okay? I favor UCLA. Not because, see how much I love UConn? I expect so much out of them. I expect them to beat Minnesota, and they're not even playing them. No, UCLA I expect to win. Again, similar reason why UConn. They have the best 2 players on the floor, plus they have more rim protection. Now, we got here Lauren Betts, right, averaging 17 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.1 steals, 1.8 blocks. And Kiki Rice with 15 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.4 blocks. And again, 1.6 turnovers ain't bad. And she's given almost 50 from the field, 90 from the free throw line, and 38% from the three-point line. So again, another almost 50, 40, 90 member right there. And they do have another player that they can bring out in the 50, 40, 90 club in Gabrielle Jacquez. So again, yeah, UCLA, they got a lot of talent on their team. Like, they could potentially have the best 3 players on the floor. Definitively 2. But when we're talking about efficiency, it without a doubt leans UCLA. We're talking about overall production, I think it leans UCLA. Now, where we got to figure out is if Sophie Hart can slow down Lauren Betts, because Sophie Hart is 6'5", Lauren Betts is 6'7". So that's a comparable matchup. Also, you can't teach height. So if someone is around your height, that's when you do have to start showcasing your skill. So if Lauren Betts is as skilled as people say she is, UCLA shouldn't have a problem. But if she's not, Sophie Hart, if she shows a little heart, you know what I'm saying, they could end up doing some things, this Minnesota team. And stifling Lauren Betts could be interesting. And like I said, Kiki Rice is still close to 50, 40, 90. Will she do the same thing during the tournament? I think she shot mid-30s over the last 2 games. She got to improve that. And Grace Gracholski, can she, in fact, be the second best player on the floor? Now, to be clear, she is not leading her team in scoring. That's Tori McKinney. But Grace is out here with the most efficiency on her team. 47 from the field, 72% from the free throw line, 42 from 3. So can she become the second best player on the floor? If so, and if Sophie Hart stifles Lauren Betts, could be an interesting thing for UCLA to go up against. But again, I got expectations of UCLA end up winning this matchup. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, y'all heard that one. Y'all heard my takes. Let's go on up to the number 3 matchup for me. Now, if y'all been paying attention, y'all know I'm biased. I am a Blue Devils fan, to be clear. So that's what we're going to talk about. The LSU Tigers at number 2 versus Duke at number 3. And to be clear, this is my 3rd ranking, but Duke is a 3 seed. So just make sure that's clear. And LSU is a 2 seed. The LSU's average delta is 56 points per game this March Madness. Again, ladies and gentlemen, belt to tail. Like, it's disgusting work. And they're a 2 seed. They're not a 1 seed. That's really wild. Duke's average delta is 20 points per game. Again, very respectable. Very respectable. This was also a regular season matchup where my Blue Devils, we lost. All right, now to be clear, we were up in the first quarter. Second quarter kind of done us dirty, all right? That's why I'm looking at Kim Mulkey versus Carol Lawson, the coaches. Kim Mulkey's the coach for LSU. Carol Lawson's the coach for Duke. Which team is going to have the better coach? That's what I'm curious to see, ladies and gentlemen, because, again, we're talking about a regular season matchup that occurred. And let's not forget, too, I definitely remember, what's her name, Flau'jae Johnson sitting up there and talking a little trash to us at home. Oh, yeah, we need that get back, ladies and gentlemen. We need that get back. Now, Flau'jae's having a pretty decent season, but one thing I've noted is we get her to the free throw line, she might miss a couple things. Malaysia Fulwiley ain't doing too bad either, but ladies and gentlemen, Duke has a couple of solid players on the team. To be clear, Toby Fournier has the chance to be the best player on the floor. At 17 points a game, 8 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 0.9 steals, and 2.3 blocks. shooting 53% from the field. Free throws will hurt us because she's at 57, but then 35 from 3 as a big. That means we can stretch out a little bit. Our guards can attack. And again, she's the best rim protector in the game. She's the highest scorer in the game. She has the most rebounds averaging in the game. Like, there's a lot of things that we can throw out here. And on top of that, our defense is not bad. Like, when you compare Duke to LSU, ladies and gentlemen, this should be a good matchup. And again, let's go down to splits, shall we? Rebounds favor LSU. Assists favor LSU barely. Steals favor LSU. Blocks favor us. Turnovers are dead even. They lead in field goal percentage and free throws and three-pointers. So this hurts. I do expect LSU to win again. However, because this is a redemption game and Duke did not play their best basketball early on, there's a world where my Blue Devils do end up winning this game. Again, who do I expect? Let's take the bias out. That hurts. But I expect LSU. But I could see Duke winning too. But again, y'all hear my expectations for who should win. So I'm not going to harp too much on that one, ladies and gentlemen. Should be a good matchup. I wholeheartedly don't expect this to be a blowout. I expect it to be a closer game, though, for sure. But again, LSU might be able to take this one. The next matchup, my number 2 matchup, we got Vanderbilt versus Notre Dame. Vanderbilt's a 2 seed. Notre Dame's a 6 seed. This one should be really entertaining. To be clear, Vanderbilt's average delta is 40 points per game, and Notre Dame's average delta is 15 points a game. I ain't gonna lie to you. This might be the only game where I literally say it is a jump ball, ladies and gentlemen. Because I mean, like, are there some favors? Yes. Like, for example, Notre Dame's team, right? Okay, scoring-wise, they lose. Rebounding, they lose. Assists, they lose. Steals, they win. Blocks, they barely lose. Turnovers, they win. And then on the scoring tip, that's the same thing. Free throws, they barely win. And three-pointers, it's close. It's going to boil down to this. Michaela Blakes from Vanderbilt versus Hannah Hidalgo, the defensive player of the year, by the way, from Notre Dame. Blake's recently just had a 32-point game in her last game, right? But both Blake's and Hidalgo are 25-point per game scorers. Actually, Blake's is at 27 to be specific. So what we got to figure out is, will Hannah continue? Because she just had like 8 steals her last game. Will she continue to be that defensive pest while still putting up crazy numbers? I don't know. I mean, she did a quite phenomenal job just the last game where her counterpart, her opponent, scored 41 points. So it's not that, scoring matters a lot, to be clear. But Notre Dame's team, when in comparison to Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt's team looks to be the better one. So if Hannah can continue to be that dog that we know she is, like a true standout, because again, she's averaging 25 points, 7 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and I say the 0.2 because of this, 5.6 steals. On 48% from the field, 84% from free throw line. 3-point percentage, she got to improve. But again, if she continues to get the steals at the rate she does, that's extra points that she don't really have to care about the splits no more. She got to make sure you knock down your free throws. But if that don't continue, I do favor Vanderbilt a little bit more over Notre Dame as a team. But it's a jump ball for me because, again, Hannah Hidalgo has been hooping this season for Notre Dame. So I'm very curious how this one goes. Honestly, this was number 2. I kind of want to put it as number 1 because these 2 guards right here, they should be tough, bro. They're going to be extremely tough. We're talking about Michaela Blakes as a 5'8" sophomore. And we're talking about Hannah Hidalgo as, a 5'6" junior? That means we might see these again. These girls again next season. I look forward to it. But this one, like I said, this is the only game where I literally have as a jump ball. So I'm gonna be tuned into this one for sure. My best matchup, though. It does include the lowest seed. We got TCU, who's a 3 seed, and UVA, that's a 10 seed. I just want to say before I go on, the fact that I didn't put Duke up here, because LSU versus Duke really could have been a thing. Like, I really would have loved to put this as my number 1, especially because, again, I'm a Duke fan. And it actually was fairly close. But TCU's average delta, mind you, all the deltas y'all have heard, right? They've been pretty high and counting, right? TCU's average delta is 14 points a game. UVA's average delta is 8.5 points per game. Now, the thing that favors TCU is they should have the best player on the floor in Olivia Miles. My question, right, and keep in mind, TCU beats them in scoring. Yeah, they beat UVA in scoring. They lose the rebound battle by like 1.2, as well as the assist battle by 0.5. But again, you got Olivia Miles, so you got good playmaking. You got a loss in steals and a loss in blocks. So, I mean, where they do win is the efficiency aspect of it. But the efficiency is kind of close enough, but it's still a decent enough gap as well, too. I lean TCU because I'm expecting Olivia Miles to be and continue to be the best player on the floor at 19 points a game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 1.8 steals. That's not bad. 48% from the field, 84% from the free throw line, 35% from the three-point line. That's not bad at all. Can Kamora Johnson cause enough havoc against TCU? She's averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2.1 steals on 41, 85, 36 splits. That's not bad. That's not bad. Again, UVA's team numbers are better. TCU's efficiency is better. So it's coming down to execution. If TCU executes, which I'm expecting they do because, again, Olivia Miles is a quality playmaker, a quality player, I'm expecting that to happen. But this one can go either way, too, to be clear. But again, I expect TCU to win this one out, to be clear. But I'm not going to be surprised if UVA pulls this one out and goes on to the Elite Eight. Because, again, Kamara, yeah, she all right. She can hoop a little bit. She can hoop a little bit. But again, ladies and gentlemen, this is by far my best matchup because it's the closest point delta between the two. And then you got two players who are going to be going up against one another with teams who are similar in comparison when we're talking about stats as well as efficiency. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this game, the lowest seeded team, might be the most entertaining game to watch. But, I mean, I'm curious, ladies and gentlemen, which game do y'all think is going to be the most entertaining to watch? Will it be Michigan versus Louisville, a 2 and a 3 seed? Number 1, Texas versus number 5, Kentucky. Number 1, South Carolina versus number 4, Oklahoma. Number 1, UConn versus number 4, UNC. Number 1, UCLA versus number 4, Minnesota. Number 2, LSU versus number 3, Duke. Number 2, Vanderbilt versus number 6, Notre Dame. Or number 3, TCU versus number 10, UVA. I want to hear y'all thoughts below. But look, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the end of the episode. So please make sure to, 1, like and support the women's college basketball season. But 2, also make sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone about the show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. I hope you are all having a good one. Ladies, I hope y'all all continue to get a bucket. Take care.